oldest daughter, as you can tell already. So I'm kind of going to be helping facilitate all of our wonderful speakers today. We have some speakers, we have a few surprises, so thank you all for being here. Hopefully you have a seat. There's a few more open spaces over here, and we're really looking forward to sharing memories and reflecting and celebrating on the best guy I know. So with that, I would like to invite my CEO, my dad's little brother.
Okay, so, you know, Dave's little brother, he was my big brother.
Am I closer?
Closer. Sorry, I have that same. Some of you actually thought that I was Dave's older brother when I first met you. That's probably because I went gray early. My boys. Well, like most younger brothers, I wanted to go wherever Dave wanted me to go. If he was building something, I wanted to help. If he wasn't, sorry.
No, that's good.
You know, if he was heading out somewhere, I wanted to go with him. I wanted to tag along. And some of you may remember this. He had a orange Schwinn bike. We got it at Woods. He would go and jump, whatever, you know, climb on the milk carton. And I would want to go with him because he was my older brother and I wanted to do everything he did. Well, of course, inevitably, I would get injured. And so Dave would come up and, you know, be a physician. But no, he wouldn't say, "Are you okay?" No, what he would say is, "Don't tell Dad." Because he knew if Mom and Dad found out, he would get in trouble as a little brother, right? You know, oh, you put your poor little brother in danger. So, anyways, I wrote that for as long as I could. And it didn't last too much longer. Well, Dave was my guide. He was always a few steps ahead of me, but, you know, he was never out of reach. So that was our childhood. When we got a little older, we got our own friends, we took our own paths. But the connection we had never went away. We did have the older brother, younger brother, you know, bickering. You know, he liked to wrestle me, and I usually had one on the bottom. But, you know, I tried to keep up. He was a wonderful athlete and determined, tough out of the but I did my best because I wanted to be there. Well, underneath all of the victory and everything else, whenever we had some kind of sporting event or some other event, we would cheer for it because that's how my parents raised us. You cheer for one another. If it's a win for the family, it's a win for you. Well, the dynamic changed when we were in college. We went from being siblings to actually friends, good friends. We were fraternity brothers together, and instead of all the you know, I can do this better than you and everything else, we actually were friends, and we would talk about life. We would talk about relationships. Serious stuff, not serious stuff. But it always felt a lot easier at that point. At that point, me and Dave became very, very close. We've had that relationship ever since. Now, somewhere around there, I got to be a little taller than him. And, you know, he said it didn't bother him. But he found he didn't take it as a bet, he took it as an opportunity. So, is that there was, you know, some people that were causing causing trouble, which basically meant that Dave didn't like what they were doing or what they were saying, he would, come marching up to me and go, come on, Rob, let's go. And most of the time I had no idea what he was talking about. And I would say, Dave, what do you want? He's like, no, just come on. We had each other's backs, so we went. Of course, when we got close to where the troublemakers were, I found out what my role was. To sit there and act as muscle. Anyways, all of you that knew Dave knew that life with him was never dull. And sometimes it was too exciting. Dave was one of the most intelligent and accomplished people I've ever known. He had a rare combination of intellect, compassion. Really, it made everyone around him want to be better. He deeply cared for his family, his friends, his colleagues, and of course his patients. But Dave was multifaceted, right? He had everything covered. I really didn't want to make Dave angry. So this would typically happen, not really focused at a family or friends, but typically at others. And so if someone crossed the line, Dave was there. And sometimes he would get a little out of control. He was that crazy Italian temper. But for the most part, he had the old Papa Bear, protective attitude. People that were around him felt safe. And that's what I love about him. Dave and I had a great breakfast. He, family physician, he would give me medical advice. I needed a lot of it because I had 3 boys. And I would give him, legal advice or sometimes financial advice. We leaned on each other's strengths. No matter what, we had each other's back, and we knew we were there for one another. But if you really wanted to see Dave in his element, come to a holiday party or one of his other parties. Millions of parties. He was an incredible cook. Everyone knows that. He was creative. He was precise. He was completely in charge. I call it controlled chaos. Pots boiling, timers going off, people getting drinks made, people. But he loved that. And what would inevitably happen is he would say, this is the perfect time to clean out this cabinet or this drawer. Because, he couldn't find one of his kitchen gadgets. Well, he had all of them, but, So, those are the memories I have of Dave. Those were the favorites. The laughter, the food, the love. Just the feeling he created that you were there, you were safe, you felt belonged. I miss Dave a lot. I was wearing sunglasses earlier. I miss his insight, his humor, his generosity, his steady, calm way of, looking out for everyone around me. I take comfort in knowing his influence on me, his family, colleagues, patients. They will continue to ripple throughout the years because you did. He taught me how to live with purpose, how to care deeply, how to give of myself fully. Just how to work hard and play, because you never know what's going to happen. And while I wish I had more time, I'm endlessly grateful that I had the time that I had. So for the brother that I followed, the friend that I counted on, the man whose example will continue to guide me for the rest of my life, today.
I never thought it would come, and I did never want to come. But to make sure that I said one thing, and one thing I've known forever, no one will ever be able to replace my father in this world. Woo. Happening quick. He was my rock, my hero, and one of the strongest people I've ever known. That brings us closer. He always knew how to fix it, always helped others, and always helped everyone. And everyone he loved, he would always make them feel welcome and just feel like family. He was an advocate for justice, and he always celebrated life. And I will just say he loved life, and he lived it to the fullest, truly. No matter how busy he was always there to check on me. He always found time to call, even though he was probably one of the busiest people I ever knew. And even though he was so busy, he always made it there for the special moments, and was always there when I needed him, for sure. All of my friends, thanks, girl. All of my friends became family, and he fully embraced them as his daughters, too. And that's just the way he treated people he loved, and everyone he loved became family. Some of my favorite moments with him were whenever we were going somewhere, we would turn the music up ridiculously loud in the car, probably not good for my ears. And we would sing Red Hot Chili Peppers, Led Zeppelin, Bob Marley, Green Day, and so many more. It was so fun. He was always my partner in adrenaline junkie activities. He was actually the one who signed the release papers when I was 11 years old to go bungee jumping at the fair, which was awesome. And then he went too, naturally. He also got me started on some of my favorite hobbies. He taught me and my friends how to surf, and he's actually the one who took me snorkeling for the first time when I was 5, and that truly changed the direction of my life and my overall happiness. No matter what he wanted to do, he fully supported me and gave me all of his support and love. One of my favorite things about him was his goofiness too, as you all probably know. He was so quick to come up with the funniest jokes, and some of his faces are just unforgettable, like imprinted in my mind. He always knew how to cheer me up, and the best way to cheer me up, which can be hard sometimes, and he knew exactly what to say. His heart was never empty, and he always had a full enough cup to give and to just be there for me. Towards the end, he remained so strong, and through all the chemos, all the radiations, and all the surgeries, he was truly the strongest person that I knew. My dad was the best. He was a gift to this world, and he was one of the most incredible, strong, giving, truly full of life people I've ever known. And I'm just so grateful to be his daughter. I can't even believe it. One of the things my dad loved to do was to teach me and impart wisdom. That was one of his really good things. He would always tell me to shoot for the stars, never give up, and was always able to help me find hope. When I asked him for advice, I wanted to share with everyone one of the last things he said. He said to me, if you love others, they will love you back. And I think that's a true testament to where we are today. And if there's nothing else you take away from this day, I hope it's that and what he truly believed. Thank you. for him. So shortly after this, we'll be sharing that with you all as well. But I just wanted to give it to him.
One of my favorite things about Mr. Bazzo is how warm and how welcoming he was there. But he really knew how to bring people together, and that's obvious with all the communities he was in, all the parties he threw, and all the people that showed up to it. One of the first times I got to really experience this was when he came to Colorado to visit Elliot. He threw a tailgate party where he cooked an entire buffet of food in the Airbnb kitchen. We went to the game after that, we went out after that, and he ended up dancing at a club with one of our friends' moms riding on his back. He really knew how to bring the best out in people. He always encouraged me to play guitar, encouraged Ellie to sing. We ended up playing a lot for him at events and just whenever he wanted us to. So this is just one more song of many worthy.
So my dad was my best friend, my strongest supporter, the person I could count on to be real with me when I needed it the most, and truly my hero. Looking around this room, I can literally feel the impact that he had, and I'm sure many of you can as well. Unfortunately, my sister stole my line. I thought about what I'd say on this day for a few years. With that, I thought about the day that I drove him to his MRI, where they first found his tumor. When he underwent multiple 10 to 12-hour surgeries weeks later, when he somehow managed to get the most outlandish infection many of the doctors had ever seen, on hard days when my mom and sister and I rode the roller coaster with him of getting better and getting worse. But time and time again, my dad decided he had more life left to live and continued to make our lives better every single day that he walked this earth. Even now, so much of his advice, humor, love, and taste in IPAs and bourbon, I'm lucky enough to carry with me every single day. In case you couldn't tell already, I play a lot of roles in the family. To be more specific, I have had labels like family manager, the planner, and la mazza, which is the Italian name my dad used for the hammer. It's on the table in the memories area if anybody would like to see it. However, my absolute favorite label that I've ever had is that I'm my father's dog. Although my dad certainly has me beat with his skills on the dance floor, specifically Low by Flo Rida, his opera singing, which my sister really got most of, and his willingness to try any food except blue cheese and tuna from a can. I'd like to think I'm fortunate enough to have his passion, loyalty, love for his family, ridiculous work ethic, and his ability to bring people together, always with food at the center. He showed me how to never shy away from confrontation, that yelling at the TV during a Chargers game is 100% necessary, even when they have a habit, as he said, of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. That everyone deserves empathy, and how strong leadership and communication is an extremely special and rare combination of traits to. My dad was the most multifaceted person I have ever known, been exposed to. My uncle said it perfectly. He could work a 12-hour day, having hard conversations with patients, managing and mentoring people who were struggling, and still find a way to smile and make people laugh, come to my gymnastics and cheerleading practices, and coach me on the areas I needed improvement, even though I'm pretty sure he'd never done either of those things. And be the absolute best and most loving dad that I could ever have dreamed of. He's an incredible athlete, an incredible son, and just best papa I could ever dream of. So I was trying to think, to kind of finish up here, of the best way to articulate what I will miss about my dad. And I decided to write it below. Dear Papa, I miss you with every ounce of my being. I know you're always with me. In the hardest moments, when what I want more than anything is one of your big magical hugs. When Taekwon and I walk the rows of Costco and see the palette. Hello, here we go. When Taekwon and I walk the rows of Costco and see the palette of Cento tomatoes. When we drive your BMW and listen to 91X. When we order smoked old fashions and black Manhattans before And of course, before big work presentations, when he would always, even weeks before you'd done, text me things like, "You're gonna kill it today." And then after those presentations, when you'd be waiting by your phone for my call, despite how busy you were, so that I could tell you all about it, and you would tell me how proud you were. There's so many things that I wish you would be around to see. And I know, while it may not be physically, that you're always going to be in our hearts and in the hearts of everyone here that loved. And with that, I would like to invite up my lovely husband, Daquan, to say a few things.
I'm the first husband of Lauren Jackson. That joke was also stolen by me, so just so you know. That was history. I still do to this day. That just shows that. My memory of started from when I first started dating her in Philadelphia. As anyone who was the first to meet their girl's father, I was as nervous could be. Right? Just imagine. Like this girl, but she also has a dad. She's coming to visit. Oh, okay. How do I smell? Look good? But when I met him, he never made me nervous. I thought it was kind of weird. And throughout the years, he still never made me nervous. I was like, I thought it was like the rule of thumb, make the new boyfriend nervous. He never made me feel that way. And, I just think it's so crazy how welcome he is. So that's how my journey started. I remember when I first came to San Diego for the first time. And I remember he told me, I told him I didn't like beer. Right? And he took me to every single brewery San Diego has to offer. It's crazy. And, I drunk in college. I'm not gonna say I did, but I did. We doing college, And he taught me to drink it slow. And to sip on it. And so anytime I drink a craft cocktail, that's one of my connections I have with him. But don't get me wrong, people have to drink craft cocktails all day. Be real good. But as I reflect on my time with him, I just think it's so inspirational. Everything he did is so cool. I really wanted to be like him. It's crazy. He got me up there in a suit. Anyone who knows me know I do not wear suits, but I'm wearing a suit now. Not only am I wearing a suit, but I'm also a visitor. So, the one thing that he really instilled in me is to never shy away from hard work. And hard work is hard. And when the tough get going, just remember that you are loved. So, I'm in business school now, and as busy as I am, it's nowhere near as busy as he was. So I don't know how he did it. But it's one of those things where, he's extremely busy, but he always makes time for his family. He is busy with a small reason. He's happy busy. Like anything he was a part of, he loved to be a part of it. So that's one thing I took away from him, and I continue to take away from him, is to show up with confidence, show up great and positively impact the people that surround you. So, yeah, he was just one of the people that, like, also, like, he's an amazing father figure. So, he is my father-in-law, and as a person who did not grow up with a father, you know, just to learn from him and the guidance from him really helped me shape into the person I am today and the person I will be tomorrow. Anytime I'm ever confused about anything, I just remember what he was saying, and that helped me figure things out. So as I help build the future life for me tomorrow, I always think about what would David do? So,
First of all, I just want to thank everyone who's here. I said it's like this is your life, you know, it's like all aspects of Dave's and my life. And I also want to thank some of the people that are here. I mean, we have relatives, we have people, a lot of people that work with him, his fraternity friends that are still his friends today. Just our neighbors and dear friends and people from the county medical site. A lot of docs from UCSD are showing up today, and so I'm truly thank you for being here. The County Medical Society and UCSD Department of Family Medicine also actually contributed to this event today, so I also want to recognize them for that. And also Lydia Cada, those of you know her. She couldn't be here today, but she basically like helped us set this whole thing up because we, as a family, we were like, I don't know if we can do this, like, just from an emotional standpoint, we just didn't really have it in us, and she just took it on and just really set this up and isn't even here to be acknowledged. She also, without my knowledge, asked at UCSD for contributions, and so thank you to everyone who has helped to make this incredible celebration today. And I also want to thank Guy Russell, one of Dave's dear friends. He's going to get up and speak, but he did this amazing slideshow. He's had a video. It took a long time, so and then I also want to invite, recognize my friends Sarah and Angela and Lynette for doing the beautiful flowers. So basically, I just walked in and everything was really done. So I mean, it was really, really incredible. We have patients here of his. One of his patients actually just walked up to me before this and said, "Dave saved my life twice." Same for, I think it was her sister or friend, that he had saved her life, and I'll just be out in the community. And people I know will walk up to me and just say thank you. Your husband, I've had doctors come up to me and say every time I go in to see a patient, I think of what Dave taught me, how he trained me. So he's really lives on with so many people. People will come to our house day and night. I mean, he'd come from home from long days, like Laura said, and I'd be frustrated because, you know, someone would say, oh, I need to bring my kid died, and have Dave look at his knee or whatever. And I'm like, girl, he just got to work, he's tired. And he would be like, it's fine, it's fine. Like, he was always open, you know, I mean, it didn't really matter what time of day or night. He was like, you know, the same way he was in the hospital, we were trying to sometimes limited, and so many people coming to see him, and you know, just an incredible party in his room all the time. And I would ask him, I'm like, are you okay? Like, he's like, yeah, that's fine, I like it. You know, that was just him. I wanted to share how we met. I was 20, I'm 59 now, so almost 40 years together. We've been together, we were married for about 33 years this year, and my daughter her husband got married on our wedding anniversary. So we met actually in Kenosha, Wisconsin. My friend who had gone to college with, she was in medical school. They were first-year medical students, and I was actually in college at University of Illinois. And I was home for the weekend, and she was having a birthday party for herself. And back then, for people that are around my age, we had stereo, something called stereo. And we had like cassette tapes, and so I had the stereo on. I was like on some radio station, and it was playing just like dance music, you know. And then someone kept changing it. And I was like, and it was like this weird Southern California, like, wiggle, something. So we finally met at the stereo, and I was like, what is this weird music you're playing? And we just started arguing over music at the stereo. And then we've just been arguing ever since. But yes, it was a fun way to meet. And so we met in Chicago, and still I think I was just back there, and it's really actually hard to go back there. He went to Chicago Medical School, and just all the memories there. I also want to thank a few other people. Dr. Alex Kalesi, who's sitting over here, he's a department chair, he's dean of neurosurgery. Dave has the record for the longest surgery, he said, for like he's ever done, times 2. So, thank you to the whole department. I mean, everyone was so incredible at UCSD. I mean, they took such amazing care of him. We'll always be grateful for that. And then Dr. Hirschman, who I think is here, he was on call. He was attending when we went to do the MRI. Came out and, we had no idea that he was going to end up in the ER. And Dr. Hirschman had been one of Dave's students, and he was the one that was caring for him that night or that afternoon. And so it was just kind of such a cool 360 moment. And Dave was like, yeah, the student now being the teacher, and Dave really appreciated that. So I want to share that story. And then I was just going to end by talking a little bit about, I admired a lot about Dave. He was, as everyone's been saying, just a incredible human being. But there's a couple things, advice, I still hear him in my head because we were together for 39 years. Telling me not to send an email when I'm mad. So we can all relate, right? He was always up for an adventure. He loved to just go out and see friends. That was when he was happiest, around his friends and family. And he always did everything 100%. Everything, which could be annoying sometimes. And he just loved life. Basically, and he always made things more fun. He really loved sports. He's a sports medicine doctor, especially football. And he always tried to get me interested in football, although I never was really interested in football. But towards the end, he couldn't see anymore, so I had to narrate the football games. So I did find, I've gotten a little bit more interested and understand the game better now because of that. And of course, he loved good food, he loved wine, he loved cocktails. He could remember a restaurant that he went to like 10 years ago, and he would recreate the recipe because he would be so excited about it. He could be very professional and formal in a room of 500 doctors doing a talk. Or he could just be... I have a lot of ways. Or he could also be the life of the party, as you all know too. So, and a lot of people would say, Dave doesn't talk to me like a doctor. He just talks to me like a person, because he just knew how to. He knew how to talk like doctor talk, we would call it. But he also just knew how to talk to you if you didn't understand doctor talk. Just as a person, he could break it down. When he had to deliver bad news to people, he was just so incredible at that. He loved life. He was always curious. And he lived so many lives in his 60 years that he will always be my person.
surprise, let's call it, but I'm gonna cheat so that I don't have to. It's hard enough watching Ellie and Sabrina out here talking if I have to do it too quickly. So, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Before I start cheating, I'm Dave's freshman roommate. Crazy that back in the days before AI and all the modern technology stuff, we both answered 5 questions when we applied to UC Irvine, and they decided we should be roommates. Not quite sure how that algorithm worked at the time. And many of you have probably heard this story before about Dave and I's freshman roommates were oil and water. We had this dorm room that was the classic sort of almost a hallway, and the furniture was on the left side was Dave's and the right side was mine, and there was a line down the middle. Not an actual like piece of tape or paint or anything like that, but it was clean as a whistle, super organized on Dave's side, and a complete disaster on my side. Anything was over line, they wouldn't pick it up. You just push it. We ended up being roommates later, or sorry, housemates later. So, we were not good roommates. Although the one nice thing would be, he would go home every weekend, so I had and surprisingly, neither one of us murdered each other that year. It took about a year before we would talk to each other too much again. Kind of too small a space, basically. And then a few years later, we became housemates, where he had his room, I had my room, and it worked out perfect. I could have my dirty space, he could have his clean space. But one of the things that impressed me and all of my freshman dorm mates at the time, it was pretty early in the fall semester, and we had the dorm-to-dorm football, flag football matches. And at the time, we were in an all-freshman dorm, like 50 co-ed, and there was another dorm that was all these crew, the rowing crew team. And at UC Irvine, there was the football team, the crew team were kind of the dads. They were bullies. And there was one bully who had the affectionate nickname of Tiny. We didn't name him that, he had it himself. He was 6'5", 250 pounds, and solid muscle. And hopefully he's not here. But he was nasty. And he picked on all of us, freshmen, whenever we go to the cafeteria, walk through between the dorms, he would just always give people crap. So we played them in flag football. And this is flag football, not contact, no tackle, all that. Now remember, and I don't know if you guys have noticed on the spreadsheet or the slideshow, some of the achievements. One of the top ones I put on that list was Dave was an all-star for the state of California, the whole state, as a center. This was junior year or senior year of high school, but both. So he was probably at his peak from an athletic perspective during those years, but we're only talking 6 months removed from this, and we're playing football, and flag football, and he says, all right, I'll be the center, and the center in flag football does pretty much nothing. The quarterback, and then the quarterback goes into the receivers. You're not even an eligible receiver. So Tiny was popping off about how they were going to crush the little freshman, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of went back and forth a little bit. And there was this play I'll never forget. Tiny lines up right over the center, and the two of them, I don't even know if they liked the ball, because no one else did anything. We all just stood there and watched. And Dave came up from the ball into this 6'5", 250-pound stud, and took his forearm right into his Adam's apple. Tiny went down. Never said a word to anyone in our dorm ever again. And every single one of us in the dorm knew that day he was our protector. And he has been as long as I've known him since. And Rob brought it up, Mara, Ellie, everybody. There was this sense that we were always safe with it. So I wanted to share that part of it, but I've had the privilege over the last few weeks of looking through all the pictures, putting this slideshow together, trying to put together a list of the achievements that Dave's done. Hopefully you've seen some of this throughout the last couple hours, but if I can get my TV to cooperate with me, I have one more video for you. Oh, and by the way, we'll send this out, but the slideshow is already published on the YouTube channel, and make sure everybody has access to it. I'm also going to do this video that I'm going to show you here now, some other videos that Mara has in Dave, his famous dance moves. So those will be pretty interesting. And then I think Carter is videotaping the ceremony today, so we're going to try and get that up on the site as well. So for those people who can't come, they can get a sense of what happened today. But let me see if I can get up this video, which to me, Dave's multifaceted. You all talk about it, you all know him, you know he's done so many different things, and I've watched him decades doing all these things, but to me, this is the quintessential Dave. got to put you going with Ellie and Mara and Sabrina and Marie and Emil, who I met when I was a freshman in college. And you can see where Dave got it from if you ever spend time with Marie and Emil. And I wish they were here too. I wish Dave was here. But I wanted to at least give you guys a side that I love, was this person who, no matter how, and usually, and I used to tell them this pretty regularly, I'm really not laughing with you, I'm laughing at you. And that's what I care about. And I miss him. Love you, brother.
Who can follow La Mama? That was crazy. Good afternoon, everyone. It is really great to see so many people here, to see how many people, how many lives Dave touched over the years. My name is Mark Ballas. I first met Dave in fall of 1982 in UC Irvine. It was the 80s. It was that decade. That's where you got Boingo Boingo. Dave and I danced the Boingo Boingo. Anyways, Dave and I, along with a few of the others in the audience today, were rushing the final for training as the teachers. I was a freshman when Dave was a junior. That fall, I ended up moving into a permanent ticket and a couple other PPs in front of them. I wasn't sure how to say everything I wanted to say today. In the end, I ended up writing it as a letter. So here we go. Dear Dave, we are here at your celebration of life with many of your colleagues, friends, and family in attendance. And man, what a wonderful life you live. It is so surreal to think 43 years ago we met in college and we didn't seem to have a worry in the world other than having fun and getting good grades. It would be impossible for me to imagine back then when I was 18 that this day would come. In this universe or any universe. Anyways, well, here we are. Some of my fondest memories of our college days include our fraternity winning the volleyball championship. It wasn't happening. With Dave, you, myself, Guy, Mike Barr, and Alex Swetland. We were all members of that team. Playing intergroup volleyball with my beautiful wife, Chris, who spent much time with the Fiji brothers, and she may say too much time. Black diamond dances were the formal dances. Big Bear retreat was another special event. So many good times, all of which, of course, passed way too quickly. One of the funniest memories burned in my brain was when you told Chris, my wife, "Feed me cookies," in the most hilarious voice after embellishing maybe a bit much in the cannabis department. It makes me smile whenever that memory comes to mind. Of course, college life was not all fun and games. You were a serious student, along with many others in the fraternity. We knew how to party, but many of us had high goals and aspirations, and were driven to succeed. I can picture you studying at your desk when we lived together on Balboa Peninsula. I remember asking you about one of your research projects, and you told me about how you were burning rats and doing skin grafts as part of research into anti-rejection drugs. I was like, okay, that's kind of gross, but actually pretty cool. This is but one example of how driven and dedicated you were to becoming a great doctor. Back in the 80s, I once heard one of the DJs on KROQ, or K-Rock, which was the Southern California alternative station, listen to Winter, say this: don't drink and drive, wear a condom, be a good human. Don't drink and drive, wear a condom, be a good human. This maxim has stayed with me my whole life. It really has. It's so simple, but it's so powerful when you think about what's the meaning behind those words. When I think about the life you lived, Dave, what immediately comes to my mind is how be a good human described you to the T. The life you lived was incredible. Your compassion, empathy, and dedication to serving others truly exemplify what being a good human is all about. If more people lived life like you did, the world would truly be a better place. What a wonderful husband, father, physician, fraternity brother, and all-around great guy you became. With Sabrina, you raised two incredibly talented, intelligent, and successful daughters, all while becoming a pillar in the San Diego family and sports medicine community. Dave, we're here celebrating your life today, and truly it deserves a celebration. You touched so many lives in such a positive way. If only we could all live our lives like more like you lived yours. Dave, you lived a life of not a good human, but a great human. All your friends, family, and colleagues gathered here today are a testament to this fact. Dave, love you, miss you, and we'll see you again someday. Your friend, Rob.
Hello, everyone. It's really good to see everybody here today. It was really good to see everybody here today. This shows the love and respect we all have for Dave. He touched us in many different ways, through work, as a patient, as a friend, as a beloved husband, father, brother, uncle, and many others. He made us all feel important. He took the time to make us all feel very special. One of the qualities I admired was when Dave would talk to me as a doctor. He didn't try to impress me with his knowledge. Rather, he talked to me in terms that I understood. He made you feel like you're the most important person in the world. That's probably why he was always so behind on schedule. The Williams family and the Bazzo family have been close for many, many years. Dave was one of my best friends. This has been a very hard time for me. I think of Dave quite often. The other day, Russell and I were at Home Depot, and I was looking for a picture for a product that we were going to buy. And a picture of Dave popped up in his alcohol costume, Halloween. And it really hit me hard. But that was Dave, always dressing the part, and that big ass smile. Nobody could ever do that. He was always there for my family. He was an uncle to my kids. At times, on the phone at midnight with Matt at college, as she struggled to be away from home. He was there for Matt when Matt broke his back. In Pennsylvania, at Matt's college graduation, first I had a really bad allergic reaction. Her face swelled up, and we didn't know what to do. So we called Dave, and we FaceTimed Dave. And Dave said, let me see. He goes, oh, as soon as Matt throws his cabinet in the air, I want you to go down to CVS, it's just down the street. He knew where it was, in Pennsylvania. And we walk in there, and the pharmacist tells us, you must know someone really important, because this came through as urgent. And I said, you have no idea. Whenever he was at one of the cities where my kids went to school, where they lived, he always took the time to take them out to dinner. That's just the way he was. He just took them out, show my kids a good time. As our friendship grew, we became more like brothers. One time leaving, I said, see you, my friend. He said, nah, see you, my brother. Too many times to count, Bruce and I would be out to dinner and on our way home. Either Dave would call, if we knew, or I would call him, and, hey, what you doing? Stop by the house. Let's have a drink. And that's when my kids said, oh, it was a Bazzo. The next day was a little rough. As Dave became sick, some of the boys, Jim, Gary, Vasily, Rob, and myself, started taking Dave out for happy hour on Wednesday nights. First with the cane, then with the walker, then with the wheelchair. And when we couldn't get him out of the house anymore, we started doing dumb movie night. There was some dumb movie night. But Dave really enjoyed night out with the guys too. little extra happy. Too many Manhattans. That was his fault. I know, hey guys, we gotta get Dave to bed before Sabrina gets home. She's very close. I know we all feel a little lost, oh boy. But I also know Dave wants us to celebrate his life, to remember him and our own special members. My dear friend and brother, till we see each other again.
Hi everyone. I have a prepared speech because I don't think I'll get through this without a prepared speech, so bear with me. I'm Tyson. I'm a friend and colleague of Dave. I've been reluctant to talk about Dave in the past tense, but today, I think in order to share what he meant to me and what I think he means to all of us, I need to turn that page. He was my colleague, my confidant, my practice partner, my teacher, my cheerleader, my supporter, my community leader, and my friend. And I will miss him tremendously. Whenever Dave reminisced about our relationship with others, he would always share this story, but always from his point of view. This is my opportunity to share it from my point of view. Dave and I met 35 years ago on July 1990 at the San Diego VA Medical Center. He was a family medicine intern, just 2 weeks into his residency. And I was I was on my inpatient internal, I was a fourth year medical student, just starting my very first night as a medicine sub-intern. Dave was coming off a long 36-hour shift. He didn't sign out as patients until 7 p.m., so it was already 37 hours. And he wanted to take care of a few more details before he left for that evening. So he should have headed home for a well-earned rest. But he saw how nervous I was, and he looked me in the eye. He actually gave me his home phone number because we didn't have cell phones back then, and went back through all his particularly ill patients. He ran through what-if scenarios with me, waited for me to think things through, and then added more things that I should consider. He didn't tell me what to do. He patiently waited for me to develop a plan before contributing his own thoughts. It wasn't his responsibility. I had my own team of interns and residents. So he could have easily have just gone home at that time. But by the time it was 8 p.m., his 38-hour straight hour working, he finally left the hospital. And he looked at me and smiled before he went home and said, "You got this." As former medical students, family medicine residents, sports medicine fellows, colleagues, friends, family, or patients, we all have shared an experience like this with Dave. His willingness to attend to us, regardless of his own needs, was boundless. So Dave and I parted ways after that rotation, and we met again a year later. I started my intern year in the same UCSD Family Medicine residency program he was in. At an orientation event, I was being my usual awkward self, just biding my time on the outskirts of a larger group. And Dave saved me. He remembered me, approached me, struck up a conversation. He was funny, gregarious, outgoing, humorous, warm, and always compassionate. He introduced me to everyone, found out that I was married to Lydia, and I learned about Sabrina for the first time. And from that moment on, even though we were complete opposites, we became forever friends and colleagues. Our lives quickly wove together. We started our annual summer camping trips to Mission, California. We started our first jobs as attendings at the old UCSD Mira Mesa Clinic, 1 month apart in 1994, where he was immediately hired into a leadership role as my medical director. By 1997, we started celebrating the birth of our 4 children. In 1999, when I was reluctant to accept an offer to become acting division chief for family medicine, it was Dave who ultimately convinced me to take that job. Just like he did that first night we met, he assured me, "You got this." In 2000, we even purchased our very first cell phones together. And like our friendship, our phone numbers were only 1 digit apart. That same year, at my request, he became the leader of our medical student teaching for the division, and then he never looked back after that. For the next 25 years, we focused on using our natural skills. Dave became the external face of the division, playing leadership roles in organizations like the San Diego Symphony, the San Diego Medical Society, both the San Diego and California Academies of Family Medicine, and team physician for Mira Mesa High School. As his acting division chief and residency program director, I was privy to all his teaching evaluations. I can tell you unequivocally that Dave was by far the best teacher the department has ever known. His greatest strength was his intuition. He always knew what a learner needed. He found the perfect teaching method to fulfill that need, providing confidence and encouragement for us to evolve and to improve. Finally, Dave was an outstanding physician who just loved his job. For him, it was more than a calling. His capacity for caring was endless, and he was always willing to answer a health question or lend a helping hand. I am fortunate that he became my physician and took care of my family as well. As you all know, primary care is tough, hard work. I always look forward to the days when both he and I were seeing patients in the clinic, because he always enhanced the experience for everyone around him. When Dave died a few months ago, I was reluctant to let him go. I tried hard to talk about him like he was still alive and present with us. This memorial service was the end of that. He is no longer physically with us, and I must accept that. Whether you were his colleague, student, resident, fellow, friend, or family member, he brought warmth, life, and compassion into his relationship with all of you. With his passing, it is time for us to give his life meaning. He invested his lifetime in all of us. He trusted and encouraged all of us to become the very best versions of ourselves. He was a positive force in all our lives, and I believe that we are his legacy. He would want each of us to become the very best healthcare providers, teachers, mentors, colleagues, friends, and community leaders that we could possibly be. Dave, I love you. Goodbye. And we've got this.
Well, you know, this is not the type of public speaking you like to do. Advocate eulogies is always definitely fun, even if you're used to doing public speaking. But I think you're probably the Bazzo bit in front here. Eliana and Flynn to play music. So Ray Noir and Kwame talks about Dave. I better get this. So here goes. I am really honored to be here. Thank you, Bazzo family, for asking me a few words. Similar to Tyson, Dave and I met 35 years ago. I just thought about this today when I was talking to Rob and some of the other residents that all work together. Dave was kind of like a little brother I could never get away from. So like you, Rob, he was like me. We had very similar paths. We met, I was the senior resident in family medicine. Dave was my intern. And you know, those of you, I see a lot of doctors in the audience here, those of you in medicine will know. You pretty quickly size up the duties. Your interns, there are limitations, and they have. They need extra work. And so Dave's on the internship with me there, and I'm seeing him, and I look and I go, all right, this guy's smart. Check. That's that box. He's confident. Check, I give him that. He's compassionate, he's displaying empathy. Big check for him there. Really dedicated to his patients, check. And almost always he shows up on time. Double check. He was very efficient, got his work done. Another check. He was a great communicator. Another check. I'm going, who's this guy? It's all the boxes in the intro. And then I realized what was really important. Dave likes sports. It's hard. And even better, Dave would love to have a beer or two after work. 2 old stars. So Dave and I hit it off really early. I realized this is someone I really get to know and enjoy. We followed similar career paths. I was the first sports medicine fellow in primary care at UCSD, and Dave was the third year class together. I joined the faculty at UCSD in family medicine. Dave joined the faculty at UCSD in family medicine. I stayed on for about 5 years and became a few doctor in family medicine education. Dave followed me taking over that job. I go, who is this little brother? How am I going to do? I finally made the split and moved off into private practice in San Diego. And Dave stayed in that illustrious career at UCSD in family medicine. We just got every single title we could have in that program, including their own chair of family medicine. Pretty amazing career for someone like moved off like that all those years. So many of you here also worked with Dave in a professional capacity. I know many of us, I see a lot of sports medicine fellows, residents, students that he taught, faculty members. It's great to be connected with a lot of you. He was involved in so many organizations. And I think when Guy called me the other day to create the slideshow, he asked me a little question about, you know, I need a couple dates on some of these things. It's one of the things that Dave might have done. I don't want to miss anything. If you saw that list, it's pretty impressive. Dave did about everything. He worked not only at UCSD doing every title you could have, he worked in helped start the PACE program, the Physician Assessment Clinical Education program. He was huge in the San Diego Academy of Family Physician, along with Sabrina, who was our executive director for all those years. He was huge in our family medicine academies as well. He was at California Academy of Family Physician. We've got a couple of the executives here visiting. We want to shout out to Jerry, Lisa, Shelley. Thank you for making the trip. Dave was just an amazing, amazing leader for family physicians in the state. And was just did everything he could to promote access to care for patients. Dave was also involved in past president of the California, San Diego County Medical Society. There's several members here and past presidents here as well. Dave joins that illustrious group as well. And so I think if you have a term for Dave, I'd say he's a professional overachiever. Hard act to follow for all of us. So Dave had all these professional life endeavors that he really excelled at. You know, and I have to look at that. I think that was demonstrated on the slides with all the tales, all the things that Dave did. But I think, personally, Dave, the person, was much more impressive than Dave, the physician. That's a hard thing to say. Dave, the person, was much more impressive than Dave, the physician. But it really was true. Dave had lifelong friends. We had this weird friendship. I could look across the valley of Pensacola Canyon and almost see his house. Yet, weeks and months would go by when we didn't see each other. And he was like that friend, that college roommate. You didn't have to see him every week or every month, even every couple of months. to just know everything about him and know who he was and rekindle that friendship from day one. So I always enjoyed our time together. It was ironic. Most of the time we spent together was when we attended different meetings outside of San Diego. We did all sorts of things together, and it really was wonderful. So we had this really long-lasting relationship. It's been said numerous times by all the other speakers that Dave had a larger-than-life personality. He really did, and I think that video with Mom just demonstrates that for him. He did. He lit up the room everywhere you went. He was spreading joy. That's the best word I can use for it. He spread joy wherever he went. People wanted to be around him. They gravitated towards him. He had a great sense of humor and a little bit of a devilish, I have to say. He had a little prankish side. And here he is, this distinguished guy, and you're going, wait. Early on, I remember we liked to do presentations, academic presentations, continuing medical education. I was not very technologically savvy. Dave was an early adopter. That was like back in the early 2000s. But so I would rely on Dave to help me with my PowerPoint presentation. He kind of a guru in this. I remember one of our California Academy meetings. I had Dave help me with my slides. I was all set. And then he was running the program. Unbeknownst to me, he's a few slides in there that I wasn't prepared for. I'm not sure that it would be appropriate for a post-presentation for this class. But I remember I looked at him as I was seeing the slides. I'm like, how Dave, you got it. So he was a prankster. To this day, I kept trying to get him back, and I never did, so I regret it. Thank you. Dave was also what I would call a Renaissance man. He did everything. We might have had a little different definition of work-life balance that we have currently. Dave worked all the time, but he was there for his family. I know that. He was a superior clinician. He was a team physician at every level, all the way from high school to youth sports up to the Olympics. He was a great leader. He was a volunteer for his community. He loved family get-togethers. He was a foodie. You heard that theme already. I remember one of our meetings up in San Francisco. Dave always grabbed me. He was an early adopter of the elders. He was always going, hey, there's this restaurant. It's got 500 five-star ratings. We got it. And so I remember one of our fanciest dinners took me to the Seven Hills restaurant in San Francisco. And we go there, and Dave says, I got this, I'll order for us. And he introduced me to stuffed squash blossoms. I'd never heard of those before. Franzino and tiramisu. And of course, Dave, you had to have a wine pair that matched every one of those courses. Perfect. So I just remember loving having meals with Dave. Another time he took us in San Francisco, he found this Ethiopian restaurant that had, again, 400 five-star reviews. Down in the Tenderloin district. And as we walked over to the unhoused people on the sidewalk, find this little hole-in-the-wall restaurant, I was like, where are you taking me? My wife would never come to this restaurant. And sure enough, we walk inside, nothing to speak of, probably the best food we've ever had. But that was Dave, who on his way to find that restaurant. He was a true foodie. He was also a bartender extraordinaire. I think if he wasn't a physician, he would have been a bartender. He was on the balls. He loved bourbon. He had a great whiskey collection. He actually performed mixology virtually during the COVID epidemic. In some of our CME sessions, we were trying to film the gap of what we do that's fun. Well, we had Dave on film actually doing mixology, which is pretty amazing. Dave made a mini Manhattan. That was his favorite drink. We already talked a little bit about Dave's athletic prowess. You saw him, he was also a football player. And I remember Dave inviting me to play beach volleyball during my career. I remember looking at Dave, look at Dave, it's kind of a mesomorph. That's a medical term, big muscles, big bones. I'm like, he's a beach volleyball player? He's supposed to be tall and slender, what's going on? I tell you, Dave had great hand-eye coordination, jump, he could play, and we were very impressed by his prowess. He was also an avid golfer. Many people in this family played golf together, and Dave was confident with his aggressive draw, that he called it, and most of us called it hook. But Dave liked to play, and we had some great trips together. He also loved music, as you saw. Something like Thunder Was Stolen. He loved to boogie. Dave just could move like no other. He was a great singer, a great baritone voice, sang at Christmas parties, always leading Christmas carols, and won the karaoke contest on the cruise. He also loved organized medicine. I didn't want to talk too much about that, but he really helped run the San Diego Academy early on with Sabrina. He was an officer in the California Academy, and past president, family physician of the year in California. He was the San Diego County Medical Science president. He helped run the PACE program. He was famous for saying he loved international travel with PACE, he loved going to American Samoa, which not many of us get a chance to go to. I want to just finish quickly, and I want to address this thing. After Dave's first surgery, I had been in the hospital with wellness and trauma, and Dave spent a lot of time helping me complex and get better. And we decided after Dave's first surgery in hospitalization, I said, this is crazy. We need to, Dave kind of saw me as a Dave hospital. And I said, I have open favors. So we created this term before it got the bad movie night on Wednesday, happy hour. We have a term called Wednesdays with Dave. So it's already reached out Tuesday morning. I decided that we would get out on Wednesdays and try to take Dave out to restaurants, drink. And it was just a great time. You know, we literally we discussed life, reconnect. We mentioned the curveballs that throw the way. We can't always predict these things. And we just focus on, we have a good legacy. And a lot of times we mention family issues. And we talk about that. And sometimes we just have a drink. But it was a great time to spend personally with Dave. I'll cherish those times. And I just want to say at the end, the Bazzo family took care of Dave unbelievably. Their team was unparalleled. How they took care of Dave was unbelievable. So all of you deserve David credit. Dave is very proud.
Like Mark said, I'm Brandon. I'm Rob's son. Dave was my uncle, my Zio. You know my Zio, you know all the great qualities he had. You know, all these, everyone coming up here and talking was just confirming all the great qualities. He had a great sense of humor, he was a great storyteller, and he was always genuinely interested in whatever you were talking to him about. He was unapologetically himself. Maybe sometimes a little too unapologetically himself, but you know, that's what made all the stories and all the memories so much better. I think the only thing he loved more than hosting and being around all the different people in his life was the love he had for our family. When we were growing up, our family spent a lot of time together. We spent almost all the holidays together. We'd have these big elaborate meals, whether it was Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, you know. He'd always be in the kitchen with my dad, orchestrating what my dad said earlier, the controlled chaos. And you could always tell that cooking was one of his biggest sources of happiness in life. Both our families also did a lot of vacations together too. We do ski trips in Mammoth, we did a Mediterranean cruise. You know, we went to Mexico, Aruba, but Zio would also invite me on trips as well, and I'm really grateful for those trips, looking back at them. My first trip to Italy was actually with Zia, Mara, and Ellie. The five of us were squeezed into a car, traveling through the country, getting on each other's nerves the whole time, but it was such a great time. And when I was thinking about that trip the other day, it made me remember another trip I took with Zio and Zia. They had invited me to come along with them to go camping in Yosemite. And I was remembering this funny story. You know, when we're leaving to go up there, we were going to take their Suburban, and it was just packed with all the luggage, all the camping equipment, and it was to the point where me and Mara and Ellie, we had to get in first, and then all the bags placed around us, kind of locking us in. It was pretty much like a puzzle to get everything to fit. And we also had a bike rack on the back of the car where we put all our bikes. And this is important because I think at the time I had gotten like a pretty new bike. It was a green mountain bike. It had like big wheels, the shocks, all the gears. And I was like, really worried. I didn't want anything to happen to this bike. Long story short, we go camping in Yosemite. We had a great time. We did, really amazing nature hikes. I got to ride my bike around the campsite. And then it was time to go. So Zio's got all the luggage by the car, trying to make sure everything fits. And in my head, I'm thinking, man, he's so focused on that luggage. I hope he doesn't forget about me. So, I'm about 10 or 11 at the time. So I go up to him and I'm like, hey Zio, don't forget about my bike. As he's busy trying to fit everything into the Suburban, he's patient with me. I think, like I said, it's about 10 or 11 time. He says, don't worry, I'm gonna, put all the suitcases in, all the camping gear in, and then, once that's all in, I'll worry about the bikes. That's good with me. I go off and do whatever, and about 5 minutes later, I see he's kind of struggling to fit everything, Tetris it into the car. So what do? I go back up to him, I try to help him move all the bags, get it fit, but I didn't do that great of a job. And then, I tell him again, hey Zio, yeah, just don't forget about my bike. Because obviously now he's focusing even more on the luggage, trying to get it in. Bikes aren't even thought in his head yet. He's patient with me again. And he says again, I'm putting the bags in and then we'll put the bikes on track. I am a little ashamed to admit I repeated that pattern maybe like 7 or 8 times. Go off and do whatever, then come back and remind him about the bike. Instead of just staying and, actually trying to help him get all the bags to fit in the car. And, that whole time, every time I come back over, he never snapped at me. He was always patient, even if I deserved to be snapped at. But that was kind of what was mentioned earlier, was he did have a temper to him, but, he definitely controlled it around his family. And looking back now, I realize that story sums up who Zio was. He was patient, he was kind, and he always took the time to make you feel heard, even if you were just a kid asking the same question 8 times in a row. I'll always remember the laughter, the meals, and the trips, and the love you shared.